Hey, Crystal Maiden here, and we're finally ending off Twilight Princess. Can't wait to finish this so I can get to Sonic Heroes. So, Midna has basically been the real protagonist of the game. I mean, like, she's the one doing all the talking. Link just sort of stands there like a dope. And she's the one who gets character development. So, it makes sense that she's the one who finally finishes her off, making me wonder why did I have to fight her with tennis? Why couldn't Midna have just done that to begin with? And see, this is exactly why it's so weird having Ganondorf possess a woman, because I end up referring to Ganondorf as a she. That's wrong. See, I like this phase in the sense that the wolf has been such a huge part of the game that not using it at all in the final boss would just be wrong. So it's good that we have a boss that not only takes advantage of the wolf, but it also calls back to the beginning of the game where a goat would run towards you, and you would hold A while it was running towards you, and then hold left or right to make it... Oh, come on! It rolled over so quickly. I really like the music of this boss fight. I like the constant male chanting, and I like how the music is dynamic, and it sort of becomes like Egyptian at this point. And what Midna basically pointed out there is that his weak spot is actually the scar that the sages created when they attacked him with the spear, that he somehow didn't use magic to heal yet. Seriously, if he's a powerful sorcerer with the Triforce of Power, why didn't he heal himself of that scar? Must not be all that powerful then. But yeah, this is basically waiting around. You wait until it turns blue and then you shoot it. Thankfully it gives you plenty of time in order to do that. Like, it doesn't turn blue immediately after appearing somewhere. It gets to a point where you pretty much have to use the goat wrangling attack on it, and you can't just hit it with the bow. But yeah, I really like this music. I especially like how it goes like this, when the boss is really cheap and lands on you from high above. But yeah, like, this game it combines animalistic shadow beasts with masks rather than faces that are sniffing the ground like animals, with a synth techno theme. Like, that's the thing, that the game has some smart sound design and effects. It's very good at intimidating surreal sounds. And I also like how there's lots of plot relevant characters in this game. It's not just Link and Zelda and Ganon. And it's also not just Midna. You've also got the Freedom Fighters. And like, sure, they may not be accompanying you in the dungeons, but they still sort of do something. So that's good. You also have Ilia and the kids, although Ilia does nothing. She's not really there for anything. You restore her memory, and you don't even have to do that. You can beat the game without restoring her memory at all, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And the kids were just there as an excuse to get Link out into the world, but he didn't need an excuse for that. From the very first cutscene, you saw that his father talked about how he was going to Hyrule to deliver something. He didn't need to have kids be arbitrarily kidnapped for no reason to lure him out into Hyrule. He would have gone to Hyrule and discovered that it was in Twilight anyways. So the whole kidnapping thing seems arbitrary, but I should really be talking about that when it gets to the credits, when I'll talk more about the story. This is basically just a wait around boss that isn't all that entertaining. And look, see? This is definitely the part where you're forced to use the goat wrangling technique. Like, I think it's very satisfying hitting him with the bow and arrow exactly when you should be, Like, it's nice to be able to hit a really tiny target, and a moving one at that. But yeah, like, this is literally just waiting around and doing nothing. Barnes, his name is actually a pun off Burns, because he's an explosions handling guy. His French name is a pun off the word char. Something weird is that if the people in the Twilight can't see Link, why couldn't they see a stick on fire floating through the air lighting the torches in Renato's tent? Like when the thing in the middle of the tent moved, they were like, what sorcery is this? So they could clearly see the effects of the torches being lit. So why didn't they see, like, did the stick become invisible after something they couldn't see picked it up? Shouldn't they have seen the stick go invisible then? And like, they weren't talking at all about the torches being lit for no reason. They only mentioned the statue moving. It's kind of confusing having, like, you can't be seen when you can't be seen by people in the Twilight who are spirits. Why can't you? Remember what I said about Midna basically being the protagonist? Well, this shows again here because she decides to fight Ganon after he goes out of his beast Ganon form in a stink cloud. Seriously, who approved this visual effect? I desperately want to skip this cutscene because it's so boring. Like, there's no dialogue at all. I mean, I guess it's nice to watch, but... Okay, why did it take until now for Zelda's soul to go out of Midna and back to Zelda? Why didn't it happen before she was possessed by Ganondorf? Was the whole reason that she was able to be possessed that her soul was not in her body? Could we have avoided that? So she got her memories? So she knows exactly what happened to her? She only really had suffering in the sense that she got a cool new imp form. And sure, the Twilight won't recognize her as their queen in that form, but other than that, I mean, she got a giant hand that can do all sorts of cool stuff. She can Midna jump you. She can let you warp. I mean, she really hasn't endured that much suffering. She's still been a queen for her entire life, and yet Zelda was talking as if she had suffered her whole life. And Link's reaction here is pretty tragic. Like, Midna is basically the protagonist, so it makes sense that she would think that she's the protagonist and think that she'd be able to defeat Ganon all on her own, when obviously she can't. But this does make sense. I mean, she's used this form as a easy nuke over and over again. She used it to break the castle crystal. She used it to deal the finishing blow on Puppet Zelda, which really makes you wonder why you had to fight Puppet Zelda at all. So why wouldn't she think that this would work? Well, because she's fighting against the god form of Ganon. You'd think that if he was invincible in that form, he would have taken that form immediately. I really like Zelda's design here. She actually held a sword when you first saw her in that design. I used to think that was a rapier because she's a royal person. It's actually just a longsword. So it's actually pretty typical, but it looks royal regardless. I really like Zelda's design. It's very queenly. Dull surprise. Why does she still have her eyebrows down like she's angry? That's not a very good facial expression for this. So, I guess we're supposed to believe that Midna was killed? Like we're ever going to believe that. It would have made the ending a lot more impactful if she did. But I've also been too dark for a Zelda game. So, like, Zelda's looking at, like, as if, well, call them her, but, like, well, he is wearing earrings. Why do they think it was a good idea to give Link earrings at all? She must have been speaking really fast to avoid being run over. But yeah, she was looking at Link as if they were friends the whole adventure, because she just had to nod and that was it. Why'd she waste time nodding when she had to speak really quickly to go to the light dimension, whatever this is? I like that the light spirits helped here, and without even saying anything, wasting our time. Like, it's good that they basically wrap up that dangling plot thread by having the light spirits show up again when they were so important, like, for the first half or whatever of the game. It's neat that the queen bows to Link, and Link is so awkward, like, he basically reacts how I would've. Like, how's he supposed to know how exactly to lend his power? The only magical power he's been able to show is, I guess, whatever gives him that really large health bar. That's about it. I mean, he doesn't have any magical abilities, he doesn't have a magic meter or anything. This is much better in the targeting system than with Zelda trying to shoot Ganon with light arrows in Wind Waker. Because it's all about the horseback combat, which was the other main gameplay focus of the game. You basically have to make sure that, like, she's most likely to actually hit Ganon with her light arrows if you keep running forwards with the horse. Because then she'll just shoot forwards and hit him. But sometimes the horse can be turning around a lot, and the horse turns really sharply. Way too sharply. It's very cheap. I remember having a completely miserable time with this the last time I played this before the playthrough. He can also randomly summon stuff that hurts you. I like being able to climb onto the horse from behind, and he immediately starts running ahead. But you can't do that here because Zelda is in the back. You never know what you have until it's gone. But yeah, like, this is not a very fun part of the boss. It can drag out forever. Like, speedruns have died because of this. The horse just turns around willy-nilly and you have to hope that it doesn't screw up on you. Yeah, like this phase of the boss can take forever. It's really all about luck, how long it lasts for you. I think I actually preferred the King Bubbling fight. It would be better to, in the Elden Twilight area, it would have been better if they only had the regular enemies be outside while the light bugs were indoors. The Wii port of the game doesn't actually have a second analog stick controlling the camera, which I implied earlier, since the Wii games usually don't. So, worse movement controls and worse camera controls. It's always so awkward when he runs around like this. The Song of Healing is actually the first Howling song in this game. It was used to, like, if you saw, for example, the dying form of the Zora in Majora's Mask, you would actually use the Song of Healing, and that would cause them to disappear, and then you'd be able to use a mask to transform into it. So the Song of Healing returns in this game, and it's a Howling Stone song. Unfortunately, the wolf howls ruin it, which is generally how it goes with the remixes. Why can't you skip this? It's weird, like, well, just like in Wind Waker, you fight the Ganon form of Ganon before actually fighting him on ground. But it's especially weird here because this game is so much like Ocarina of Time, but in Ocarina of Time, you fought the most powerful Ganon form last. This makes more sense though, because it makes sense that the more you attack him, the weaker he gets, and so this is at his weakest. And I'm going to show exactly how weak he really is. There is a hilarious trick you can do against him, and because the combat system in this game sucks ass, I'm going to take full advantage of it. I assume the explanation for this is that because he's from the desert, he has no idea what a fishing rod even is. How's he supposed to know when deserts don't have fishing rods at all? So you use it, and like, he looks at it because for all he knows, this is probably like the ultimate weapon of destruction. For all he knows, this is some magical charm that powers up Link. So shouldn't he be trying to attack it and break it? Grabbing it? Whatever works. Like, they expect you to rely on the hidden skills a bunch, but the problem is that he's got an armored back, so I don't know why you're expected to think that the backslice will work. He's also a very quick turner, which is inherently cheap considering how long it takes for Link to get around him other than the backslice, which won't work as an armored back. He's actually killed in 2 hits by the mortal draw, but good luck actually using that against him. And he can't be helm splitted. You can't use the helm splitter against him at all, even though he doesn't have a helmet at all. So I guess that crown that only protects a tiny amount of his head somehow protects the entirety of it from the helm splitter. He uses the same sword that the sages tried to kill him with. Which is weird because it's all white, so you think that it's a holy sword, so why is he able to use it? This is stupid. His sound effects and the way his face looks. How is this approved? This is so stupid looking. It's like it's supposed to be comedy, but it isn't. It's sad that in the N64 game, they actually did Ganon's death better. It's also weird how Ganon dies standing up. I mean, how is that possible? Is that actually something that happens? How does he not fall over? Especially since he has a sword in him, so you think that sword would cause him to fall over. And here's another thing in the plot that was never explained. Not only does it not explain in the actual game how he got the Triforce of Power, since he never got the chance to get it in Ocarina of Time in this timeline, but he also loses it for no reason. Did he lose it because Wind Waker Ganon summoned it at this exact time in the other timeline? And that Zant thing here, even Eiji Aonuma has no idea what happened there. He didn't ask the writer of that about it because that person was actually known for being a loner, and Eiji Aonuma trusted that he knew what he was doing. But it would have been nice to actually get an explanation on that. Did Zant intentionally kill him because he lost faith in his god somehow? Or was it showing that Zant died? Because Zant clearly made the physical effort intentionally to move his neck as if he... It's confusing. So, did Zant have his soul in him? Did Zant somehow reincarnate into Ganon when Ganon's body was clearly already occupied by Ganon's soul? But yeah, somehow Midna is still alive. How? Didn't she die? How did this happen? Ganon killed her. Why were the light spirits there? Did the light spirits revive her? Why didn't they explain that? If she was here the whole time, why didn't we see her when we were riding all over the field on horseback? I kind of like her design here. She looks like a Klingon with her forehead. She looks like a blue alien space woman, which isn't really appropriate for Zelda, but at the very least her gown looks pretty nice, like her Twilight design. Although she looks nothing like the Twilight that we saw. Like, she has an actual face, a human face, actual eyes rather than just beady looking weirdness. And she also has voice acting with it sounds like she has a completely different voice. And again, it sounds straight out of Star Trek. So I guess that was pretty heartwarming. Part of the reason the credits take so long is probably due to the fact that it's loading up different parts of the world just so it can go to it for the credits. Why can't it be like other games to just have those different parts of the world and scenes shown in a black box? But instead it takes up time loading over and over again, showing black screens over and over again just to go different places. It would have been better if they just had a scrolling credits like every other game. So that was Twilight Princess. Gameplay-wise, it's not that different from Wind Waker, aside from the fact that the combat system is more quote-unquote fleshed out because of all the different hidden skills you can learn. They removed the parry system, where you wait and then you press A, and they replaced it with splitting the parries into two. Like you can do one of the two parries at will at any time after you learn them. You can do the back slice, which requires a side hop and then another side hop, and it's not as good as the back slice in Wind Waker because it's not like it's scripted to have you always go to the exact spot behind the enemy that you want. So it's possible that you'll roll too far and then you won't be in front of where you want. Like, it just doesn't work as well. Like, the combat in general doesn't work as well because it constantly forces you to fight armored enemies, and so you'll attack their armor all the time when you don't want to. I bet in Skyward Sword you could have prevented that because you would have been able to control exactly where Link's sword went. And so you would have been able to make sure that you wouldn't be able to hit the armor. In this game, you're constantly going to be hitting the armor because the combat system just doesn't. It's like there are plenty of different attacks, but they're all mapped to the B button. But yeah, the gameplay. The biggest problem with the game as a whole is there's too much padding between dungeons, and what you do between dungeons isn't fun. Like, there's one time before Goron Mines where you had to backtrack all the way back to Orden to get the Iron Boots and do the stupid sumo wrestling minigame 3 times in a row, backtracking all the way back to Death Mountain, and only then can you go to Goron Mines. And don't even get me started on the stupid Lost Woods side quests and the fact that you had to do it twice. Why did they have to take the map away for the Lost Woods? Just so arbitrary. And the plot isn't exactly stellar. Like, it's kind of sloppily written because I don't really like the bleak tone of it, and there's way too many contrived coincidences with how Link completes his quests. So many things that shouldn't have transpired the way they did, like the bird somehow deciding to let Link ride it up Upper Zora River in the Twilight. And how did the bull survive being attacked by King Bublin so that it could get him out of the burning building? And how did he get to the city in the sky from the cannon being pointed in a random direction and it somehow landed him in the city of the sky? And it sure is convenient that the shadow beast that first grabbed him in the Twilight didn't kill him. So she's talking as if this mirror was always there? Why didn't we find the mirror in Gerudo Desert and Ocarina of Time? Maybe it's implied that the mirror reappears in Four Swords Adventure, but the Twilight Realm doesn't show up again. So basically, Midna says goodbye to them, and it's implied by, yeah, like, this is total bullshit. You never actually see the Twilight Realm again, and they never show up again. So, what's the point of that text? Does she have to have a tear to break the mirror? But yeah, this is pretty sad and heartwarming. She almost told him that she loved him, because she says, "I," and then "see you later." So, it makes sense that she stopped herself because, one, she's of a completely different species, so I'm not sure how she was able to be attracted to him in the first place, which makes me wonder how the Gerudo evolved into a completely different species just because they were in the Twilight Realm, which can't have two different conditions from Hyrule, or Link would have not been able to survive in there. And 2, they're going to be separated from each other forever, so it's stupid for Midna to tell him that she loves him, which was never alluded to at all in the adventure, when he's never going to see her again. So it's just going to make him sad because she's gone. Again, why do they have to do this? Why can't... Like, I know there was the whole Zant thing, but there's always going to be villains. So what is the point of separating the two realms forever? It's also a good thing that Zant didn't decide to kill him when he met Link in, like, Hylia. Zant was just so stupid. He's just such a lazily written villain. He's so generic. And obviously his characterization does a complete 180 later in the game, and he's upstaged. But more importantly, he's such an idiot. Like, he could have created that crystal around Hyrule Castle much earlier, making it impossible for you to go to Zelda at all. And that would have been it. You wouldn't have been able to win. He's just not a very good villain. He's much more entertaining in Hyrule Warriors, where they fully take advantage of him being like a crazy villain. But in this game, they don't really do that until later. But yeah, like, I just prefer Wind Waker with the whole getting to explore every single island, explore the entire Great Sea, and feel like a sailor. In this game, they don't have spoils, so every chest basically contains money that gets useless at some point. You can't rebuild the ghost towns and repopulate them, so there goes that idea for a money sink. Wind Waker was much more effective at actually having money sinks. This game just has a whole bunch of rupees thrown at you, and you can't really do anything with them, so you constantly just put them back in the chest. So there's not much motivation to do everything in the game and explore everywhere, because what's the point? In Wind Waker, every rupee counted. So it was really rewarding exploring the entire Great Sea. In this game, not so much. And of course, Ilia is an awful character. They don't show you why she's a good friend to Link. So I don't really care about her, and the kids are just bullies to Colin, so I don't care about them either. So they utterly fail at, like, the whole them being kidnapped for no reason at all, and being kept alive for no reason at all. It just seems like an arbitrary excuse to get Link out to Hyrule when he was already going to go to Hyrule anyways. The whole plot just seems kind of sloppy. Which is why it's such a good thing that you can finally skip cutscenes. Like, that alone makes this more replayable than Wind Waker in that sense, because not only are the dungeons much better, but there's also the fact that you can skip cutscenes, so you don't have to watch them every single time you play the game. But yeah, I like this game, but not nearly as much as Wind Waker, even though the dungeons are a lot better, because sometimes the dungeons can be unintuitive and annoying. But at least they're not like the use the Kitty Man melody over and over and over again dungeons.